Welcome to Capitol Preview, a weekly bipartisan discussion with Iowa legislators about the key issues facing our state. Brought to you by Mediacom.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Capitol Preview, a show where we get the views of our state representatives and state senators in Iowa. This is brought to you by our friends at Mediacom. I'm Bill Peard. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Iowa Cable and Telecommunications Association. Our guest this morning is Representative Megan Jones from District 2, which represents Clay County, Palo Alto County, and Dickinson County. Megan, thank you for showing up this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So this is just going to be kind of a conversational type conversation. We just kind of want to know what's going on and what you're up to up at the legislature. So what are the themes for this session?
So one important theme that the governor really set out from the beginning was that of second chances. And I think that's so important so that people can move on in their lives from things that may have happened that were unflattering in their life or bad choices that they made. But then also, we need these people in Iowa. We need them to stay here, and we need them to work here in particular. So we need to make sure that we're giving people that benefit of the doubt and giving them that second chance.
Yep. It's a great theme.
It is, yes.
What bills do you see moving on in this issue? On this issue.
Yeah, one thing that the governor has really been supportive of is felons voting rights. Making it easier for people who have some mistakes in their past to be able to move forward from that and be able to be a complete citizen again. And so we've really taken a good look at that in the House. We did pass it out. It didn't make it through the funnel in the Senate, but it's still a live round for next year. Another bill that I've been working on for a constituent relates to search warrants. And when a search warrant is executed, it has its own case number. And so whether or not there's charges filed, or even if there are charges filed, it has a separate case number. So those charges, if they are dismissed, if they are acquitted of those charges, or if they're never filed, that case number with that search warrant is still hanging out there. So when you pull someone up on Iowa Courts Online, there's a search warrant, but there's nothing else to the story. And so I think folks kind of presume that these people, had some charges, or they're not quite sure, but people just kind of guess, oh, well, there's something unflattering there. And so what this bill will do is if those charges, if there were never charges, if they were acquitted or dismissed, then that search warrant can be taken off that record too.
Okay, all right. Which of these bills do you see advancing? Because we obviously went through the second funnel, right, last week, the end of last week, and so which ones do you see advancing out of these?
Well, so the felons voting rights didn't make it through the second funnel. I think that conversation is going to continue. I think a lot of members would feel more comfortable with that language if they knew the parameters. So we've talked a lot about how sex offenders, how murderers, rapists are not going to be included, and that's not going to be an option for them. So we're going to continue that conversation. So while it may not be a live round this year, I think we're going to keep talking about it and move it next year.
All right. Why do you think there is so much discussion of the fines?
Yeah, so fines, that's an interesting one because we're kind of at a breaking point where we're kind of fining people into oblivion, right? So it's easy to say, well, I want to fund this program, so just tack on another fine for people who speed, or just tack on another fine for someone who runs a stop sign. Well, at some point we get to the point where they can't afford to pay for it.
Right.
And then, then the unfortunate thing happens if they still continue to drive, then they get a driving while suspended, then they don't have insurance, and if God forbid, if they would hit someone, then we're really in a pickle. They just can't ever dig out of that hole. And so there's a lot of discussion happening at the Capitol of the appropriateness of fines and whether we're just fining people into oblivion or if we're actually curbing that bad behavior.
Okay, all right. What other themes are you seeing making life easier, birth control access, daylight savings time, left lane?
That's another,
as an example.
That's another great theme at the Capitol is how can we just make life easier? Some of these bills are just silly concepts or, kind of like people roll their eyes, oh, that's an easy bill, you know, or that we're not going to take that seriously. But people are just sick of having to change their clocks. Something as simple as that, you know, bigger conceptual bills are the birth control bill that the governor is supporting. You know, it's just about making life easier. Getting that 3 months extension, that's just a really helpful thing for Iowans. You know, another one is the left lane lingerer bill. People are just tired of.
Explain that one, because that one kind of has some curiosity on my part.
Yeah. So what that bill will do is make it so that the left lane is the passing lane. And so you can't just hang out in there anymore. You actually need to move back over. And so that's an interesting bill. You know, people kind of laugh about it because we all get mad at the slow driver. But, you know, it's just one of those things people want to get taken care of, move over and get out of the way.
I don't know if I'd like to, the other theme that we are seeing, what other themes are making life, well, we talked about that, I'm sorry. This has been an interesting session for you, bringing your son along with you to the Capitol, which we're hearing a little bit of him right now. But I think that's such a cool human interest story and a tribute to you, because I've seen you lug everything and do your job up there. And so you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if folks can hear him grumbling over in the corner here, but yeah, so I had a baby on Valentine's Day, and so we took a couple of weeks off, and we came back to the Capitol, and he came with me. So our daycare can't take kids until they're 6 weeks old, and so and then he can get vaccinated at 8 weeks. So we're gonna keep him around until next week, and then he's gonna go back to daycare, or gonna go to daycare for the first time, I guess. And but he spent a few weeks in the legislature, and it's been a unique experience, but certainly a lot of fun.
You have a child carrier. I've seen you. You bring it onto the floor of the house, and so I think that's kind of cool. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you know, we just come in Monday mornings like everybody else, and I just bring a baby carrier with me, and we kind of set our cubicle up to be a little nursery too.
Right.
We've had a swing and a bouncer and all the gear it takes to get him through the day. And then when we're on the house floor, then I usually just wear him around, or he has a little rock and play next to the desk that he hangs out in.
Yeah, it's fun to see. And you've been in the news, right? With
that?
Yeah. As a mom that, you know, as a mom that has a small child that takes her to work, and I think it's really cool.
Well, thank you. You know, I've heard from a lot of small business owners that have to do the same thing. The Girl Scouts of Iowa, they've opened this opportunity up to their employees as well. So I hope it's something that we can see more of.
Absolutely. And I know you want to give some kudos to your clerk, because you say she's awesome in helping you with your son.
Yeah, so. My clerk Marlene, she's been amazing, and you know, I never want her to feel that the baby is her burden, because this was my decision. This is our situation. But I think she loves having a baby around, and so I think sometimes she sends me to meetings, and I've got him. You go.
And he's a cute kid, so he's easy.
Well, thank you.
What do you think about having a baby around does to the culture of the Capitol? And we kind of talked about that a little bit, but I think it makes it feel more family oriented in that Capitol, right? And we're making laws for the Capitols, or for families.
Right, and he is our future generation, you know, and so I think he's a good reminder of why we're there. And you know, at the end of the day, we are all there to make Iowa a better place. So while we may disagree on the route to get there, it's kids like him that are the reason we're there. But then I think it also breaks down some of those partisan barriers. I've had so many people who I wouldn't otherwise interact with come over to me and say, I have a grandkid about that age. Do you think I could hold him for a little bit? Or, you know, this is the stage that my grandkid is going through, or my kid, or I remember the days when my kids were that size, you know. So it on a personal level, it does make a lot of connections that I probably wouldn't have made otherwise.
You can think of the kid connection, the grandkids and the great-grandkids. There's a ton of them up there, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I think that's a good analogy. It's the common denominator up there in a lot of cases. So.
Yeah, you know, even if we might not have something in common, kids, that's something that we can all unify around.
Absolutely. So where will he stay with you Archie the rest of the session, or what's your plans?
Next Monday is his big day. He starts daycare, and so it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to not have him around, but you know, he's kind of getting a little older. He sleeps a little less, so it's a little harder to have him around. But he's definitely ready to go to daycare, and actually he and my daughter are going to be in the same class for a little bit. So
cool.
So it'll be nice that she can kind of help protect her little brother, and show him the ropes.
How many kids do you have?
We have 3.
3.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Anchor is 3, Alma is 1, and Archie is 7 weeks.
God bless you, Representative
Thank you.
Jones. When do you think the session will end, and what do you think is left in it?
That is a great question. You know, when the sun starts shining a little more, we start getting that question and start asking ourselves, you know, when are we going to wrap this up? And you know, as it gets warmer out, the farmers certainly want to get out in the field. So, and it is very important. And I have a farmer back home, and so he really wants me to be back so we can make sure we're getting things moving on the farm too. But
absolutely,
you know, last Thursday we passed out 2 budget bills. So I think that's kind of that was the trigger. You know, that kind of says, all right, we're moving down the path toward adjournment. You know, but policy could really start slowing things down, especially folks always want to insert policy into budget bills and try to find a route for the language that may not have made it through the funnels. And so I think it's probably going to be a few more weeks, but I think our last official date is May 5th. So I think we're probably on a good pace, to get there.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I had we had the Speaker of the House in last week, and she said she started getting soil temperature reports about this week. You know, because these farmers that are anxious to get back to their farm and
they want to get into the field, and you know, at our farm we're calving right now, so it's a busy time of the year for us already.
Right.
But then once we add planting on top of that and field work, it really does get to be tricky, especially with 3 kids.
Maybe you should propose a bill that the legislature meets in the summer. Or would that be any better for you?
Well,
but this is a tough time of year for you with calving and trying to get in the field. And
when we got engaged, we kind of talked about when we could possibly plan the wedding, and it was about July, August, or December were the only 3 months that didn't overlap with the legislative session with his farming schedule. So, and certainly not during harvest. So.
I know this is kind of, but I always like to, if I have a little extra time left over at the end, I always like to ask the representative of the senators how they feel about the presidential race starting in earnest, you know, in Iowa. You have any observations or comments on that?
You know, it's exciting, and it's always an exciting time to be in Iowa when those folks start coming around, because a lot of states don't have that opportunity. I was out in D.C. For the 2 presidential cycles ago. I was interning at the White House, and I can remember people saying, "Well, so you've met them?" Of course, I've met them. My parents have met them. My neighbors have met them.
Exactly.
We expect that. You know, I mean, if we haven't met them yet, it's like, oh, where have they been? You know, are they taking us seriously? And I think Iowans do such a great job of vetting those candidates and getting to know them, and making sure that Iowa is really the #1 state in the nation and continues to be so.
I grew up in Nebraska, and that was truly flyover state. So when Linda and I moved here to Des Moines 29 years ago, I was just, you know, because I'm a political kind of junkie, and I would tell my mom, I see him in the grocery store.
Yes.
I mean, we never saw him anywhere when we were in Nebraska except Omaha or Lincoln. But now I see him in a grocery store or a gas station or whatever. So it's kind of a unique and kind of a very cool thing that Iowans have.
It's a big responsibility. It's a big honor, but Iowans are up to it.
Hey, they are. They are. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Representative Jones, I appreciate you coming in here this morning. You're a busy person, so I doubly appreciate you coming in. Thank you for tuning in for Capitol Preview. Please stay tuned for another edition of Capitol Preview.